The Bank of England may not be able to lower interest rates as much as expected this year, due strong UK pay growth and expected rate cuts in the US, one of its top policymakers has said. Megan Green, a member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, which sets interest rates in the UK, said she was concerned that wages appear to be growing strongly again this year, and this may stop inflation from easing. In a speech in London at the Resolution Foundation, a leading think tank, Green said a decline in wage growth may have run its course, pointing to recent Bank of England surveys that suggest employers are planning to hand out pay rises of 3.5% or more this year. The latest official figures showed wage growth, excluding bonuses, weakened slightly to 4.5% between September and November, from 4.6% in the previous 3 months. The MPC has a target for inflation of 2%, but figures released this week showed it reached 3.4% in December, up from 3.2% in November. Consistent wage growth tends to push up inflation if there is not a corresponding rise in productivity growth, but Green said she was certainly skeptical that productivity will rebound this year. The MPC's decision on when next to lower borrowing costs would also be affected by whether the U.S. Federal Reserve lowers rates, as this could cause inflation in the UK to rise. If the Fed were to cut rates more aggressively than the bank this year, this should cause U.S. demand for UK exports to rebound, providing upward pressure on UK inflation, she said. Green's warning comes as a separate report from the bank concluded that it had consistently underestimated the full effects of inflation that came after the energy price shock of 2022 following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. After 2022, the bank's medium-term inflation and wage growth forecasts proved repeatedly too low, the central bank said in its first-ever forecast evaluation report. The report found that the bank's models did not anticipate the extent to which higher inflation in 2022 then led to households and businesses having higher inflation expectations, leading them to push for higher wages, which in turn added to further inflation pressure. The bank said it will try to improve its modeling and understanding of key economic mechanisms, including the labor market, wage-price interactions, and inflation expectations, to better understand the recent inflation persistence. A separate, closely watched survey of activity among UK businesses showed that companies were reporting a sharp rise in costs in January, with the overall pace of inflation unchanged from the survey's December's 7-month high. The Purchasing Managers Index from S&P Global showed businesses in manufacturing and services sectors were overwhelmingly linking rising costs to elevated wage pressures, alongside rising transport bills and raw material prices from suppliers. These cost pressures had led firms to make the greatest increase to their own prices in more than a year, it said. The survey also showed a steep loss of jobs among many of its respondents, especially in the hospitality sector. Many companies attributed the job cuts to the government's introduction of higher national insurance contributions and increases to the national living wage. The survey has led to city economists to reduce their expectations of the MPC making 2 interest rate cuts this year, with the first quarter rate now not expected until June. The current base rate is 3.75% after 4 cuts by the MPC in 2025. However, the survey showed a reading of 53.9 in January, up from 51.4 in December at a 21-month high. A score over 50 indicates growth. We know this is annoying, so here is 50% off. Seeing these messages can be repetitive, we know that. Imagine what it's like writing them. But it's also extremely important. One of The Guardian's most valuable assets is its reader funding. 1. Reader funding means we can cover what we like. We're not beholden to the political whims of a billionaire owner. No one can tell us what not to say or what not to report. 2. Reader funding means we don't have to chase clicks and traffic. We're not desperately seeking your attention for the sake of it. We pursue the stories that our editorial team deems important and believe are worthy of your time. 3. Reader funding means we can keep our website open, allowing as many people as possible to read quality journalism from around the world, especially those who live in places where the free press is in peril. Right now, The Guardian's work is funded by just 2.4% of our regular readers. We know that not everyone can afford to pay for news, but if it would help to convince you to support us, we'd love to offer readers like you in Bangladesh 50% off an all-access digital subscription for the first 6 months until Saturday, 31st January. We value whatever you can spare, but choosing an all-access digital subscription enables greater investment in our most crucial, fearless journalism. As our thanks to you,